Aí o cara fala uma parada dessa e fica se escondendo, velho. É um cuzão, velho, cara, velho. Porra, velho. Um frouxo, velho. Se eu quero fazer a parada, velho, porra, eu só fico quieto. Fica aqui na minha. Você acha que eu vou avisar vocês? Você acha que eu vou avisar o Globo? Eu vou nada. Vocês não vão deixar, velho.
Alex Pereira lashes out at Magomed Ankalaev for dodging him at the UFC Performance Institute, calling the behavior cowardly and showing frustration that Ankalaev won't face him directly. Pereira explains that he wouldn't need to announce anything. If he wanted to fight, he would act and end it quickly, and criticizes the other fighter for hiding and relying on others to step in. He makes clear he prefers action over words and that he won't be the one to seek confrontation. If it's meant to happen, he says, it will happen on his terms.
Aí o cara fala uma parada dessa e fica se escondendo, velho. É um cuzão, velho, cara, velho. Um frouxo, velho. Ele ficou olhando, tipo assim. Será que ele tá com raiva? Será que ele não tá? E eu só na minha, não falei nada, aí ele não saiu da salinha. Mas se eu tivesse cumprimentado, ou tivesse balançado a cabeça pra ele, ele fala, ei, Ankalaev, você pode sair, pode estar de boa com a gente. Não vai ter briga não. Mano, se eu for querer um dia fazer isso, brigar com alguém, velho, você acha que eu falo, vou bater nesse cara? Tá? Eu nem falo, velho. Eu nem falo, tá ligado? Eu só deixo. Na hora que vim, cumprimento o Globo, cumprimenta você, pá, se eu quero, porra, eu quero pegar, é ali mesmo, toma, receba. Já era. Os caras ficam falando, sabe que os parceiros não vai deixar, tá ligado? Claro. E aí fica assim, me segura, senão, porra, me segura, senão eu mato, me segura, tá ligado? Porra, isso não existe, velho. Se eu quero fazer a parada, velho, porra, eu só fico quieto. Fica aqui na minha. Você acha que eu vou avisar vocês? Você acha que eu vou avisar o Globo? Eu vou nada. Vocês não vão deixar, velho.
On the other hand, Joe Rogan gives credit to Magomed Ankalaev for neutralizing Alex Pereira's striking threat. He describes it as an impressive showing against one of the division's most dangerous punchers, and Rogan points out that while Pereira's power often gets the spotlight, Ankalaev has also finished top-level opponents. He highlights Ankalaev's complete skill set and notes that his footwork resembled that of a smaller, quicker fighter.
We were talking about how exciting the Ankalaev and Pereira fight was, even though people didn't like it because it wasn't like some crazy result, a giant knockout like you get in most Pereira fights, but it was so technical. And Ankalaev just did a fantastic job of shutting down the scariest guy in the division. It was so interesting because the consequences of exchanging with Pereira are so high, but also Ankalaev's knocked a lot of people out. We always look at Pereira's knockouts, but Ankalaev has knocked out some of the best guys in the division.
Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen broke down why Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev isn't generating buzz. He argues the fight is flying under the radar because fans largely expect the outcome to be the same as their first meeting. Sonnen noted that even other contenders in the division, when campaigning for a title shot, indirectly signaled they believed Ankalaev would win. After watching their first fight, he said there was nothing controversial or unresolved that suggested a rematch would play out differently.
Well, everything just changed. So Pereira versus Ankalaev is very much going under the radar, and it's going under the radar for a number of reasons, but none of which is greater than the fact that we believe we know the outcome of that fight. Like there just hasn't been a lot of pomp and circumstance around the idea that Pereira is going to win that fight. Other guys in the division that see themselves lined up, when they come out and talk about it without disrespecting Pereira, but they do mention, I think I should be next. I think I should take on Ankalaev next. They will give a hint or a clue that they believe that Ankalaev is going to win. I don't see that any different. I watched that first fight. There was nothing compelling from a controversial standpoint that would make you believe that if you did 5 more rounds, you were going to get a different result.
Chael Sonnen shares his confusion over how the story around Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev is being told. He reminds that Ankalaev had already beaten Pereira, yet continued to call him out afterward. Sonnen even thought he was being shown an old article when his producer mentioned the call-out, only to find out Ankalaev had indeed done it repeatedly on social media. What puzzled him further was that Pereira never seemed to respond, which made the whole situation feel unusual.
Now again, that doesn't mean he's not interested in the fight. I'm sharing with the way the media and the story is being told. It appears that he's not overly interested in the fight. If you guys will remember, Ankalaev beat Pereira. Ankalaev then calls out Pereira. We're all looking around going, I literally said this to my producer. My producer Ryan shows me this. I go, Ryan, are you showing me an old article? What do you mean Ankalaev called out Pereira? He just beat Pereira. Ryan goes, no. He called him out today. Said Ankalaev, who beat Pereira, is calling out Pereira? He said, yes, he called him out today. I had to go to social media, go to Ankalaev, and make sure that I had this story right. And sure enough, he called him out again, and he called him out again, and he called him out the next week, and then he really started to ramp things up a month or so later, and Pereira never, that I saw, responded. I never saw Pereira respond.
Earlier, Chael Sonnen argued that the rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira creates more problems than it solves. He questions why it was booked in the first place, pointing out that Ankalaev already won, and there wasn't much demand for a second fight. Sonnen finds it odd that Ankalaev pushed so hard for the matchup and wonders what he really gains from it. He adds that if Ankalaev wins again, it would naturally lead to a trilogy that fans never asked for, making the whole situation feel unnecessary and messy for the division.
If he wins, to be positive on the Alex Pereira side, would you drop the belt and go up? Or
No. No,
no?
they won't
You
let him.
stick around and fight the winner of Prochazka and Roundtree, or
No, he's not going to be in there with Prochazka again, most likely. Who's awesome, by the way.
yeah, of course.
But he's just not going to be in there with him again. But therein lies a part of the problem. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I don't know what Ankalaev gets if he wins. He already beat him. Nobody asked for this rematch, including Pereira. Ankalaev asked for it. It was a little bit odd. Ankalaev actually got a little bit nasty, calling, but come fight me. It's like, he just did. What is it that you planned that you're bringing the belt this time? I mean, it really was a little bit of a confusing situation. And then to your point, what happens if he comes and picks it up? Well, the right thing to do would be to go to the trilogy. So now you're telling me we not only got to see him fight Ankalaev again, which we didn't want the first time, we didn't ask for it this time. Now you're telling me we might have to see it for 10 more rounds. I'm just sharing. I think it creates more problems than it solves. That's what I think.
Michael Bisping also notes the unexpected dip in fan support for Alex Pereira, recalling a Q&A in Thailand where the crowd cheered loudly for other fighters, but went silent when Pereira's name came up. He admits he is surprised considering Pereira was Fighter of the Year and consistently delivered in big fights. Bisping points out how quickly fans turn away after one loss and says he is curious to see the reception Pereira gets at the T-Mobile Arena.
There has been a drop-off in support for Alex Pereira. I've said this on another video, but I was quite blown away by this. I did a seminar in Thailand in July, and when I was there, I did a Q&A. There was about 200 people, and they asked me who my favorite fighter was. I said, I don't have one, but who's yours? And I said, I'll throw out some names, and by way of an applause, you guys cheer, and that'll tell me who your favorite is. So I said, Islam Makhachev. Wait. I said, Ilia Topuria. Very positive, loud cheer. I said, Alex Pereira. And there wasn't a single sound. Now, if you saw my video where I talked about this before, I apologize for repeating myself. But I was truly in shock because, as I said, he was the Fighter of the Year. He was the man stepping up all the time. And now all of a sudden, after one little loss, people have jumped off the bandwagon. So I'm curious to see how this goes down and what the reception will be at the T-Mobile Arena.
Michael Bisping highlights both the decline in fan support for Alex Pereira and his take on why Magomed Ankalaev fell short in their first fight. He explains that Ankalaev was too cautious, staying on the outside instead of pressing forward. Bisping believes that this lack of urgency stopped him from securing a clear win and allowed Pereira the chance to edge it out.
There has been a drop-off in support for Alex Pereira. I've said this on another video, but I was quite blown away by this. I did a seminar in Thailand in July, and when I was there, I did a Q&A. There was about 200 people, and they asked me who my favorite fighter was. I said, I don't have one, but who's yours? And I said, I'll throw out some names, and by way of an applause, you guys cheer, and that'll tell me who your favorite is. So I said, Islam Makhachev. Wait. I said, Ilia Topuria. Very positive, loud cheer. I said, Alex Pereira. And there wasn't a single sound. Now, if you saw my video where I talked about this before, I apologize for repeating myself. But I was truly in shock because, as I said, he was the Fighter of the Year. He was the man stepping up all the time. And now all of a sudden, after one little loss, people have jumped off the bandwagon. So I'm curious to see how this goes down and what the reception will be at the T-Mobile Arena. I think it's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a lot of support. I think that the people that were at my seminar, they're...
On the other hand, Johnny Walker reflected on the matchup between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, noting that both were seasoned strikers. He highlighted Ankalaev's patient and intelligent approach, explaining that he preferred to take his time and build his victories gradually instead of forcing reckless exchanges.
Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, you fought Magomed Ankalaev twice. What do you think is the most important thing for Alex Pereira to do getting a second crack at this guy?
Yeah, both guys, they are very experienced. They both are strikers, right? Ankalaev is a striker too. And both have a lot of experience, right? But I believe Ankalaev very smart, right? And he take his time. He never rush, and he build his winning by step, you know.
Johnny Walker added that Alex Pereira needed to bring more aggression, since both fighters often competed cautiously despite their power. He felt the one willing to take more risks would gain the edge, otherwise the fight could once again go to the judges. In his view, a true champion should aim for a finish, and he admitted he would be excited to see this rematch conclude in a decisive fashion.
But I believe that if Pereira put a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, because Pereira also, he doesn't come rushing people. I think the difference in that fight, who's gonna have more advantage, who take more risk, a little bit more risk. Both guys are very safe. They are deadly, but they're both very safe. And if you both keep safe, he's gonna go for the points again. I believe a title shot, you need to show that you're the champ. You need to finish the opponent, because that is the ultimate reason to become champion. Go there and finish the guy. I believe in finishes, and I'll be very happy if I watch a finish on that fight.
Nick Barnhill analyzes the rematch by saying he doesn't expect Magomed Ankalaev to dominate Alex Pereira more easily this time. He points out that Pereira gained Ankalaev's respect early in their first fight, and although Ankalaev made adjustments, he never completely controlled the action. Barnhill acknowledges that Pereira may not have the same all-around skill set, but emphasizes that his striking is still among the most elite in the UFC, even if he wasn't able to use his full arsenal in their first encounter.
I'm not of the nature that everybody seems to think Ankalaev is just going to go in there and beat him easier and even faster than he did last time. Pereira did give him some things to worry about. He had his respect early on, and of course that respect started to fade later into the fight, but not fully, because if it did, Ankalaev probably would have pushed on the gas a little bit harder and looked for the finish. Pereira might not be the fighter that Ankalaev is in mixed martial arts, but when it comes to striking, he still is one of the highest level guys in the UFC. He obviously came in the first time with limited weapons, mostly sitting around all night looking for the lead hook. He was also trying to beat the calf up, but Ankalaev did a pretty good job at noticing that.
Nick Barnhill believes that if Alex Pereira relies too heavily on counter-striking and avoids pressing the action, he will likely drop rounds and lose another unanimous decision to Magomed Ankalaev. He also outlines an alternate path, saying Pereira could decide to take bigger risks in the later rounds and go all out for the belt, which might create an opportunity for a late finish. However, Barnhill remains uncertain about which version of Pereira will step into the rematch.
And then as the fight went on, he made that less and less effective. If Pereira doesn't start mixing it up, and instead of waiting for counter strikes, start to bring the offense himself, he will find himself low on the scorecards again. Then we're basically going to look at the exact same fight where Ankalaev wins a 5-round victory, unanimous decision, or Pereira says, you know what, risk it all for the biscuit in these last couple rounds. I'm going to go out there and try to get this belt back. If that happens, I could see a late finish happening, but I don't know which side of the game Pereira is going to come in on.
Meanwhile, Alex Pereira makes it clear he is focused on taking the belt back from Magomed Ankalaev. He reflects on the controversy surrounding their first fight, saying a draw would have been a fairer result and kept him as champion. Pereira admits he wasn't at his best that night, but promises to deliver a much stronger performance in the rematch. He emphasizes that he doesn't need a knockout this time, expressing confidence that his complete skill set is enough to handle Ankalaev in every area.
Back to Magomed, when you see the footage of him going home with the belt that was yours, and all the hoopla and stuff, how does that make you feel?
People say that he won, people say that he lost, people say that I win, very contested, right? Why you don't give it a draw and a left to the belt?
So you are very motivated to get the belt back.
Absolutely. I can't wait for this moment to happen again, and it's gonna be a very different fight. That day was not the same Alex Pereira, so if come the regular Alex Pereira, it's already more than that. But imagine now if it's different. It doesn't have to be a knockout, but I feel that I have enough game to do whatever I want with this guy.
However, John Wood questions whether Alex Pereira is fully committed to his first fight with Magomed Ankalaev, noting that he sees him at numerous events worldwide during that camp. He wonders how proper preparation can be done under those circumstances, though he concedes Pereira may be working harder than it appears. Wood believes that some details might be missed the first time, but expects Pereira to come into the rematch with every base covered.
But I'll tell you this, I travel a lot, and I'm at almost every event all over the world, not just UFC, but small shows, big shows, little shows, you know, everything. And I swear to you, when he was in that camp, I saw that dude at every one of those shows. Like, he was at Karate Combat, he's in Australia, he's here, he's there, he's that, you know. And so for me, I was just like, man, like, how are you preparing for a fight, you know, of that magnitude, like, while you're away for a week, while you're away, where you're this? I would see him training in the training rooms, you know. And it's just, I just don't know that you can put a proper camp in. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe that's what works for him. And maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe I was only seeing him for a day or two. Who knows? But it just seemed like he was everywhere during that camp. And I feel like that maybe there was some T's and I's that weren't dotted and crossed. And I think that obviously he probably learned from that and is going to come back and make sure that all that stuff is, all those bases is covered for this one, if that was the case.
On the other hand, Zhang Mingyang expects Magomed Ankalaev to hold onto his belt in the UFC 320 rematch. He feels Alex Pereira no longer shows the same hunger he once had, which could play a key role. While acknowledging Pereira's elite striking, Zhang leans toward Ankalaev after seeing signs of decline in Pereira's last outing striking. Zhang favors Ankalaev based on what he observed in Pereira's most recent performance.
We mentioned the title fight. Magomed Ankalaev is the champion. He's running it back with Alex Pereira at UFC 320 on October 4th. I'm curious, who do you think wins that fight? What's your prediction for the title fight?
Yeah, I think still Ankalaev can defend his title, because I think Pereira is not as motivated as before. So, I mean, if we can get the old Pereira back, he is still the, let's say, the better striker than Ankalaev. But for now, if he still fought like the way like he fought last fight, I think Ankalaev can still win this fight.
Zhang Mingyang feels Alex Pereira has lost some of the edge that once drove him. He points out that financial success has erased Pereira's hunger, which could hand Magomed Ankalaev an advantage in their UFC 320 rematch.
Why do you think there's a lack of motivation there, in your opinion?
Because he has earned too much money. He's too rich. I think it's no matter who you are, as a fighter or as a human being, if you are too rich, you are just like a kind of lack of motivation, as when you are young, when you are poor, when you are hungry. I think that's normal. It's not uncommon.
UFC heavyweight fighter Curtis Blade supports Alex Pereira in the rematch, pointing to his toughness in battling through injury and illness. He says that if Pereira shows up at full strength and health, he expects him to get the win.
I'm gonna go with Pereira because of the injury, and also I heard he had this same illness that I had, and I know how that feels. So yeah, as long as he's healthy, yeah, I go with Pereira.
Former UFC heavyweight Martin Bude views the rematch as evenly balanced, saying Alex Pereira didn't look like himself in the first fight and might bring more aggression this time. He calls it a 50-50 fight, but admits he's rooting for Pereira to get his belt back.
So that's a tough one. That's a tough one to decide. We will see, because Alex Pereira in their last fight seems like something was not right about him, because he was like not like we are usually used to see him fighting. So we will see if he come in like more aggressive fashion into that fight. So I got that fight like 50-50.
Okay. Who would you give the edge to, though, if you had to pick someone? Who do you think gets it done?
I would like Alex to win.
On the contrary, light heavyweight fighter Modestas Belkauskas picks Magomed Ankalaev to win the rematch. He acknowledges Alex Pereira's striking skills, but expects Ankalaev to execute his game plan better this time, noting that his southpaw style will be difficult for Pereira to handle.
I still think Ankalaev's gonna do the job. As amazing as Pereira is, I think Ankalaev will even be stepping up his game even more and implementing it even more. I knew the strikes from Pereira's side wasn't quite as much, but I do feel that southpaw style is going to be a difficult puzzle for him to deal with.
That concludes today's video. Let us know your thoughts on this matchup in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates and upcoming UFC fights.